Deliverance from 1972 is arguably one of the most influential and ripped off movies of all time. I mean, this movie inspired a veritable slew of rip-offs. There was Southern Comfort, there was Trapped, there was Just Before Dawn, and of course the list goes on. But today I'd like to take a few minutes out to talk about why this is, in my opinion, the best of the Deliverance rip-offs, and arguably the one with the most thoughtful themes, thoughtful ideas, alongside Southern Comfort, of course. And the movie I'm talking about is, of course, Rituals. So the premise of Rituals is that 4 doctors are off on one of those wilderness hikes / camping adventures somewhere in Canada, in the wilderness of Canada, of course. The sort of adventure that involves being flown in and out in a seaplane. We're talking about well and truly being isolated here, which is the basis of all these survival wilderness horror movies. So we have Hal Holbrook, who was in a ton of television and movies, and there's Lawrence Dane, who I always thought was David Gale, and a couple of other late middle-aged doctors. Although it's always hard to follow and hard to tell how old everyone was in the 1970s. Everyone was boozing hard, everyone was smoking hard, everyone had hard lives. But anyway, these guys are isolated hundreds of miles from anywhere, but they are, of course, far from alone. Someone starts hunting them down one by one, doctor by doctor, if you will. It all sounds a bit generic, quite generic actually, but it's really anything but. The 4 doctors soon figure out that it might be one of their past disgruntled victims of malpractice, and it is kind of troubling to me that none of them can really nail the list of suspects down to just one suspect, or even a few suspects. Lots of disgruntled patients back in the day for these 4 doctors, apparently. So, Rituals from 1977 has everything. Various ways of making these doctors' lives hell by the unknown assailant. First off, he does swipe all of their shoes while they're asleep, which is a bit of a nightmare if you're a tenderfoot like me. I couldn't imagine being in the middle of the wilderness, sans shoes, trying to make it out. That's all kinds of painful, all kinds of bunions, all kinds of thorns, and all kinds of bites from insects and things like that. He also uses hornets to attack them, a dropped nest of hornets actually, and he uses bear traps in a really creepy scene where they're crossing a river on a rope, probably the most memorable scene of the movie in my opinion. So this movie kind of flew under the radar for a lot of horror, thriller, wilderness survival horror fans. It was praised by author Stephen King in his love letter to horror movies, I guess you'd say, and horror literature, the book Dance Macabre, which has kind of also fallen off the radar over the years. But Stephen King did praise Rituals for a page or 2 in that book. That's how I first found out about it, first tracked it down. And it is a really slow burn creeper of a movie, and that probably explains one of the alternate titles, which is The Creeper, I believe, from memory, but we all knew it as Rituals. And it's one of those cool unsung Canadian horror movies of the 70s. A lot of other movies get a lot more attention, movies like Humongous, for example, and American Gothic as Canadian-made chillers posing as American-made chillers. But Rituals was very much shot in Canada. I'm hoping the sound's okay on this video because someone just started randomly mowing a lawn at the riverside where I'm shooting. So if only I was as isolated as our 4 doctors are in Rituals, but it is what it is. So all the performances are great in this one. As I said, Hal Holbrook's in this one. Hal Holbrook's well known from a lot of genre movies, a lot of television during the 70s and 80s especially. And there's also the David Gale lookalike, who's very good. Apparently he was instrumental in producing the movie and He was going to play the lead role, apparently, but he did get relegated to a supporting role because some of the money men wanted a name actor, if you can call Hal Holbrook a name actor, but I guess he was back in the 70s. So this is one that'll remain with you long after you've stopped watching it. You'll really be thinking about it every time you do go off into the wilderness. Every time you do go off camping, if you are fortunate enough to do so. It really does seep into the subconscious quite like Deliverance. I mean, Deliverance is shocking in its own right with the whole squeal like a pig law. But I challenge anyone that's seen Rituals not to think about those bear traps when they are wading through a creek or a river out in the wilderness. So all in all, this is one worth hunting down, if you'll pardon the pun. It really explored a lot of themes that didn't become popular till much later. I guess the main theme it explores is disillusionment in the US medical system, I guess you'd say. And it really is interesting that they kind of did come up with the concept of a disgruntled patient, a victim of malpractice, if you will, as the main antagonist in this movie. So that's about all I've got on Rituals. It's a little bit hard to see this one. I'll try and track down a link. Someone's probably thrown it up on YouTube, so I'll try and pop in a link for that. Although, as you can understand, YouTube gets a bit whack-a-mole in that regard. I believe Severin might have released a DVD or a Blu-ray, and maybe 88 films from memory. So those are probably your best ways to see it. Or good old eBay, failing all of that. So highly recommended. If you did enjoy movies like Deliverance, movies like Trapped, movies like Southern Comfort, you will enjoy Rituals and you'll have a whale of a time with it. And it is one of those relaxing wilderness horrors, if that makes any sense. Something to kind of tune out to, zone out to after a hard day of work and wishing the entire system had collapsed. This could be a good a good little way to spend an hour and a half if you're feeling in that sort of mood, especially with everything going on at the moment. So that's about all I've got on Rituals, starring Hal Holbrook and the very good David Gale lookalike. Lawrence Dane, I think, was his name from memory. And definitely one to check out. So I hope you're enjoying the content here on the channel. I'm kind of changing things up a bit these days, simplifying things to keep it fun, because God knows we all need to keep everything fun as much as we can in this day and age, especially at the moment. And I hope you're keeping safe out there. Hope you're trying to distract yourself from everything going on. And if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll like, share and subscribe, because I look forward to joining you next time. Take it easy.